business that we need to discuss, though, obviously. We are now celebrating roughly, I think, the 6-month anniversary of passing comprehensive tax reform that lowered the taxes for everybody in America, virtually everybody in America, including corporations who are sharing their tax savings with their employees and enjoying massive benefits. And it was also, of course, called the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And we are celebrating some of the best unemployment numbers we have had and workforce participation rates in years. This is a pretty good time to kind of highlight what you in Congress, along with President Trump, have been able to get done.
Absolutely, Bob. And again, being one of the architects of the tax bill sitting on the Ways and Means Committee, I can tell you that the work was really done to make sure that corporations could compete in this country by lowering the corporate tax rate. Too many companies were leaving because other countries in our world were dropping their corporate tax rate. We had to be competitive. It was number one. Number two, we had to make sure that people got to keep some of their hard-earned money and spend it the way they did so we can grow this economy. That's why the average average Ohioan will save about $2,200 a year in taxes, and that came from Joint Tax Commission study. So in the end, this was good. This is not only keeps America growing. 40 companies in our state have announced at a minimum where they're going to pay bonuses to their employees, where they're going to expand their company. I was just with a company the other day that's already doubled its size. A small company, but again, this is what the tax bill was supposed to do: grow the economy and create jobs, and that's what it's doing in Ohio. So glad we were able to get through that, along with eliminating a lot of regulations, which a lot of people forget. This Congress also was able to strip some of the regulatory climate away that President Obama had put in place. So we're in the midst of that, and that's why the economy is growing and things are moving well in Ohio.
It looks like we're going to end up with a second quarter GDP growth of 4.1%. I mean, we're talking about really astronomical growth when you consider the fact that there was never a year in the Obama 8 years of his presidency of at least 3% growth. I guess I'm asking about November, Congressman. Do the American people understand this? Do the American people understand that with President Trump at the helm, with a Republican majority in both houses of Congress, this is what it takes to grow the economy at the rate that it should in this country, compared to the very stagnant recovery from recession that we had under the 8 years of Obama?
Well, I hope so, and we're going to make sure we keep reminding people that during the Obama administration, the average growth was about 1.8%. So again, a big difference so far under the Trump administration, and it's because the Trump administration knows we have to be able to create jobs and grow this economy, and that was the first goal, was to do that, not to put more restraints on the economy, but make it an opportunity to grow the economy. And this Congress has been able to push a lot through, even with the obstructionists in the Senate. The sad thing is, I still say this, 550 some bills over to the Senate, and I think 500 or 480, between 480 and 500 are just sitting there. Part of the problem is the Senate doesn't get enough accomplished. It's one of the reasons why I've decided to run for the Senate and help the president accomplish even more over the next 3 years and hopefully the next 7.
We'll talk more about the Senate race and your opponent, Sherrod Brown, in just a moment. But let me also talk about something else I know that's important to you. You've been working very hard on an opioid bill. We know that the scourge of this, we know that the number of lives, I should say, we know the number of lives this terrible scourge on our society has taken. And quite frankly, we need a champion. We need somebody to step up and do something at the federal level and also at the state levels, obviously, to curb opioid abuse. And I know you've got a bill in the works. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, look, there's no silver bullet to fix this crisis, but I can tell you that the House has passed 34 opioid-related bills. 3 of them are my bills. One of them was the State Disposal and Unused Medication Act, which permits hospice staff to safely dispose of unused controlled substances following a patient's death. Believe it or not, Bob, they would just hand those back to the patient's family at the end of the death, which allowed for these drugs to get on the medicine cabinets and into people's hands. Now they can be disposed of properly. That's, of course, if the Senate passes that bill. The Results Act, which will require any applicant for a loan or grant from HHS that would be used to implement an intervention program or activity regarding substance abuse disorders, just demonstrate that their treatment program activity is evidence-based. And the third is the Medicaid Opioid Safety Education Act of 2008 to help educate seniors on pain management as alternative pain management treatments. Too often seniors are getting pills just because their doctors have prescribed them, but at the same time they're not aware that these pills could give them, could result in becoming addicted to the pain relief. So a number of bills that I've pushed, but also that others in the House are pushing as well.
Yeah, and that's good to know. And obviously, again, we need a champion or champions to get out in front of this, and we need to pass these things and get them through the Senate as well. Is that what's the status of your? You said 3 of them have your name on them. What's the status? Are they on their way to the Senate? Are they in the Senate?
Well, we passed them. They're on the way to the Senate. Now we have to wait and see what the Senate does with them.
And they're not moving very quickly over there. Obviously, we know they have a lot of other things going on too, with confirmations and whatnot. But yeah, we need to get the Senate to move at the speed that the House is moving at, or at least somewhere close to it. I want to ask you real quick about Sherrod Brown and about your race because he's been very, very quiet about the issue of abolishing ICE. Congressman, and I'm moving on to immigration here because it's obviously a massive part of our daily news cycle right now, and it's a major part of our national security concerns. A lot of his Senate colleagues, including people like Elizabeth Warren and Kristen Gillibrand and others, including other Democrat elected officials like Mayor Bill de Blasio, they're all screaming that they think ICE should be abolished. And Sherrod Brown's been asked repeatedly about whether or not he agrees, and he refuses to say no. Of course, ICE should not be abolished. We need that federal police force to help keep people safe in this country. What do you make of the fact that he will not support ICE and will not answer that question?
Well, it's politics as usual. He's in his 6 years. Sherrod Brown pops up every 6 years, start telling people what he's done, but really he hasn't done very much in the 25 years he's been in Washington. But one thing for certain we know is that Senator Elizabeth Warren is one of his staunch supporters. And, of course, she happens to be one who wants to abolish ICE, along with some of the other names you mentioned. So that gives you a kind of an indication. Brown voted with Warren 94% of the time, which is part of a CQ vote studies since 2013 to 2018. So, and by the way, here's what's interesting. Senator Brown has really only supported President Trump 28% of the time, and those are in issues that he had to in many cases. So that's not even like he was out there really pushing the Trump agenda. So it tells you exactly where he sits. He doesn't have to say very much. People know that he supports those far left, on the far left side, like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. And in most cases, if you can't say you don't want to abolish ICE, that probably means you just don't want to make the comment.
Exactly. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
No, but I think President Trump said it best last night. We need to protect those that are protecting us. I say that about our police. I say that about our firefighters. I say that about our veterans. And I say that about our ICE agents as well. They're protecting us. We should protect them.
I could not have said that better, and I was glad to hear the president say that, one of his strongest moments last night in Montana, and that is exactly right. And I just couldn't help but agree with you there, and that's the reason I asked the question. If Sherrod Brown will not say, of course we should not abolish ICE, then inside he's thinking, heck yes, we should abolish ICE, but I just know it would be politically untenable in this race against Jim Renacci to say it out loud. So his silence speaks volumes, I think, in this case. Congressman Renacci, thank you so much for your time. Again, have yourself a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch up with you again next week, sir.
Thank you, Bob. You do the same.
Have a great day. Congressman Jim Renacci joining us.